What's going on, guys? I'm back with another one. And I got a brand new suggestion box review for you guys. I just watched a movie called Martyrs, starring Mylene Jampanoy, Morjana Alawu, and Catherine Beshin. I had to get one of those people's names right. I know I did. I know it. Trust me. First of all, you know I have to give a huge shout out to the one and only Cheryl Burton. All right? Thank you. Keep them coming. Please keep them coming. I want to talk about the Ballad of the Tortured Victim. Now, we know we've seen a few movies like this. More than a few that have depicted this subject. All right. The first one that comes to mind for me is Kill Bill. All right. The head character, the main character, the bride, is almost murdered by her own baby daddy. And when they find out she wasn't really murdered, she plots revenge on everybody. And that's the premise of that two-part film, pretty much. Or we can get closer in range to the topic and talk about Hostel. All right. We have more than a few torture victims in this movie. You feel all the different pains and the anguish, the fear, the trauma that they went through. And they definitely went through some trauma in that movie. Okay? Or we can get on another level with this with movies like Enough, where you have a tortured, battered, beaten, abused wife who finally finds the courage and the strength to get her revenge. And so now we embark upon a movie called Martyrs. And my question is, will Martyrs make me feel that the revenge is justified just as much as the other ones? Let's find out. Let's go. Martyrs, for those who don't know, for those who are not aware, honestly, I had no idea this movie existed myself. The movie came out in 2009. Then another version of it came out in 2016. I still had no idea this movie existed. So, there you go. All right? Martyrs. It's pretty much about two little girls named Lucy and Anna. Now, knowingly, Lucy went through some torture as a little kid. All right? To the point where she had to escape. And that she did. And when she was found again, the people who found her asked the question, who did this to her? Who put her through all of this? And they asked her friend Anna, if you know anything about this, anything at all, please inform us. Okay? And so now we skip 15 years later. And Lucy has indeed found her captors. And I can't say any more because I will ruin the movie. Trust me. So that's the premise. Positives. I really enjoyed the pace of this movie. This movie was non-stop. Non-stop. It just, there was so much going on in this movie. I'll tell you, there were only a few quiet before the storm moments. Okay? And I mean just a few. Because everything else felt like this car had no brakes. Alright? You couldn't, there was nowhere to stop or push down to pump the brakes in this movie. It kept going. The adrenaline rush is real. The adrenaline rush with this film is very real. It's going to keep you on your toes. And there's so many things that happen that you don't expect. Some that you do, but you think you're ready, but you're not ready. Okay, with this particular movie. My second thing I liked about this movie, the gore. Of course, the gore was incredible. The gore didn't hold back. All right, they showed everything. There were no cut to next scene. There was no editing this out. They put everything in there they wanted you to view. This really answered it gave me my rated R feel. All right, I wanted the rated R flick. I got it. I definitely got it with this one. All right, because as I recall, I was told that this was supposed to be NC-17. I can see why. I can really see why. All right, let's just give an example. There, our character Lucy, she has this creature chasing her throughout the movie, and it has to be some realism to it because she has marks and scratches from where the creature has attacked her a couple of times, and that has to be explained somehow. If it's not real, what is going on? You can't tell. You have to figure out what's real and what is not with this also. So that's all mixed up in there with the gore. Okay. A third thing that I admired about this film. This film, and I have a confession to make. As I watched this film and I got to the end, I realized that I had viewed a video on YouTube about this movie a while back. And it kind of blurted out some of the end of this movie. I'm not going to say it here, of course, but it didn't matter because it just led me, it gave me a visual of what led up to that end. Okay, and on top of that, the ending of this you don't expect it. You don't expect the ending the way that it ends, what happens at the end. Okay, it kind of jumps out at you, and you have to think about what transpired to cause that to happen at the end. I'm saying it like this because I can't really blurt out what happens, and I don't want to accidentally blurt it out. So I'll just let you know that the twist at the end is like a mind blower. It's going to shake your mind because it's going to have you thinking and guessing and wondering and asking yourself a lot of questions about things that I can't say right now. Okay, so that the ending, it hits hard. The ending hits hard. It really does. Creepy, almost creepy to a fact. Negatives. I only have 2 negatives with this. All right. My first big negative about this movie has the character Anna. And you see how I said knowingly Lucy went through torture. Anna, I'm not sure what happened with Anna as a kid in this movie. I'm just going to be honest with you right now. And for that, as she got older, she was kind of just along for the ride. That's how I felt through this. Lucy was going through the yes. All right, she was going through a lot of the yes, and Anna was just there as an accomplice to some things. All right, and it just she didn't do a lot until later on. Some things happened I cannot explain either, and I respect her for that. Trust, but other than that, I wondered to myself, what was Anna's true purpose before. Why was she at the same? I'm guessing it was an orphanage they were at. Why was she at that orphanage that they had found Lucy at? Why was she there originally? When did she get tortured as a girl? That it was so confusing to have to ask that question while you're watching the older her scream and yell and watching Lucy go through what she went through later on. And there's even a part where I'm not going to get too much detail on this, but Anna even helps one of the captors of Lucy. And I'm not going to say how and why, but she does. And of course, Lucy is upset, and I'm upset too. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Just, if anything, help Lucy. Okay? That's your friend, right? Help Lucy. Or get out of there. Get the hell out of there. Alright? Anna just made me scratch my head a bunch throughout this movie. She was not one of my favorite characters. Okay? She only became an interest through a certain area of this movie. That's when she came of use. Other than that, something needed to be done with her. I felt very strongly about that. Okay. And so my second negative about this movie. This movie has a lot of similarity to another movie, of which I can't mention at all. I can't say anything about. But it's very much like that movie towards the end. And I even did some research on this movie. Oh, well, not the research. Well, I know this came out in 2009. The movie that I'm thinking about, that it took some of the elements from, came out in 2005. Okay? So that says a lot. There were so many scenes with that were exactly like the one that I was thinking about originally. Okay, and it's crazy. Like, did they really just take a blueprint from that movie and say, okay, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do this, do that, and this? And that kind of almost detoured or kind of numbed me through the rest of that part. Like, well, if this is going to go the same way that went, I already know what's going to happen. Well, I thought. Okay, they had to kind of turn things around midway through that. That copy they did of that other movie. They had to turn something around towards that end. Or I was going to be like, man, you guys are absolutely taking scenes and lines from another movie. Just it really is. And I really wish that I could mention said film that I'm talking about. But I feel like if I do, then some people will consider that I'm spoiling a little bit of this movie by saying that. Okay. So I just want you to, if you watch this movie, think about what that might be taken from. All right. But with all that said, I still have to give this a hell yes. This movie is so crazy. It's so crazy. You're not even going to be ready. If you haven't seen the movie, you're not going to be ready for this. All right. I haven't seen a movie quite like this. And yes, they were definitely justified for the revenge that was taken. Okay. This movie actually did a better revenge plot than the other movies I just mentioned. It really did. It didn't hold anything back. It really jumped out there with that revenge, with that vengeance. Okay, so I loved that, and it was so violent. Whew. I want you to press that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and share my video. I'll be back.